Wow, this pandemic and the economic collapse, what's your impression of what's happening?
What's my impression of what's happened? Well, I think that we're looking at an era that is just unprecedented, both in terms of the cause as well as the effect. We're looking at unemployment and loss of jobs and productivity akin to what we saw at the Great Depression. And in terms of whether or not this is just going to be a massive recession versus a quick V-shaped recession where we just bounce in and then bounce back out, versus a depression, it's all going to depend on how the virus acts within our communities. And it is a little alarming that we're seeing a lot of the political side of how we should be reacting to this virus. But the fact is, the virus does not care what party you're from. It just kills indiscriminately. So that's what we're going to be dealing with.
So the role of, in the big picture, the role of banks as we navigate the months and even years ahead, what is that?
Well, the role of the banks is essentially what the role has always been, which is to bridge funding, bridge income streams with funding. Now, what we've seen as a result of this situation is, of course, there's been massive deferments of loans, both on a consumer and commercial standpoint, as businesses have been forced to shut down. Revenues are not coming in, and they're just not able to service debt and the like, which is why we've gotten a lot of cooperation out of our regulators and out of the Federal Reserve and the Treasury in terms of loosening some of the standards that have been put in place back in 2008. Different kind of economic disruption, different causes in that situation. So we've gone ahead and taken a lot of steps to basically buy time for our community so that it can progress forward. Now, what we're also seeing is the banking system is being used in a unique way, especially through this PPP program, this payroll protection program, in which basically the banks are being used to facilitate the allocation of grant money. And that's what this is actually turned into. So what we've ended up having to do, and I completely support what they've done, because this is about getting money into the hands of individuals within our community so they can eat and feed their children. This is a very good thing. And so we've ended up massively pivoting a large portion of our workforce. As we are an essential business, we've stayed open, and we've been able to keep people very busy as a result of accommodating these various programs that have come through.
So Congress is poised to pass this act as of today, which is Thursday, the second round of relief, if you will. For the first go around, how many applications did you process, and what did that tally up in terms of dollars?
In round one, we ended up getting in approximately 2,600 applications. We were able to get commitment from the SBA on just over 2,500 of those. So we, before the funds ran out, we got all but about 100, 119. I'm strike that, about 100 to get through. And so those applications that did not get through on the first pass are going to be the first ones through on the second pass, as it appears that we are poised to, the House is going to move on this, hopefully, by the end of today here.
And what kinds of businesses actually stepped forward to apply during the first round or even on the waiting list? Describe what these businesses are.
These businesses are essentially anybody who has less than 500 employees. So that could be the small mom and pop, that could be the sole proprietor, or it could be companies with several hundred employees. Once again, this is a way in which we can get as much federal money as possible into the hands of our community members And the more money that we could get in, this is how we approach it right from the get-go. The more money we could claim for our community members, the quicker and better off this community will be for when things start up again.
And what are your customers telling you, the people who have stepped forward to apply for these loans? What are you hearing from them?
They're relieved. They're very thankful. And I mean, it really is a wonderful time to be a community banker. Some of the bigger institutions have not been able to move as fast. And there was a lot of confusion in the beginning of round one of this program in terms of what the qualifications were and what the various qualification metrics, things like that were. And the program did change actually within about 72 hours. The program changed about 2 or 3 times. So we had to move very quickly in order to change. I know that some institutions had more trouble with that than not because there was a concern about, okay, you make all these loans. Are these loans? Are these grants? What are these? And so now that's become very clear.
So for the next round of relief, how many applications now are we talking about? Are you just going through the waiting list? How many will you be able to process this time, and what kind of dollar amount are we talking about?
Well, the last round, we got through approximately $300 million into the community. So we were very, very proud of that. This next round, I wouldn't be surprised if the demand was similar. We've been taking obviously from customers, but also from non-customers. We have not discriminated who we take applications through, and we found that a number of people went through other institutions with their applications and then came through us because they were concerned about the money running out, which they were right to be concerned about. Mm-hmm. This time around, I think that we can get even more through. As on the first pass, we ironed out all the kinks in terms of the process and the procedure. So we feel really good about this. And
to be clear, you don't have to be a customer of the bank to apply for a loan, at least as it applies to Canandaigua National Bank?
Correct. As it applies to us in particular, you do not have to be a customer. And I know a lot of institutions in round one limited it to customers, and some even limited it to invite only, which was completely not the purpose of this program. We do not discriminate by your size. We do not discriminate by who you bank with. This is about getting much money into our community as possible, and that is our role in this process.
Is it first come, first serve?
It is.
Okay.
It is. And the speculation on this money is that it will go pretty quickly, okay? Because and we in anticipation of this, so that people can get their application together and get the requisite paperwork, we opened up our application on our website, so people can just tap on that. They'll know exactly what's on the app. They'll know exactly what materials to submit in order to get this through, get some SBA approval. And because once you get that SBA approval, mm-hmm. you're locked in. You've got a piece of that money. And then funding will take care of it. And that won't happen immediately, but it'll quickly follow. But the key is to get the money marked for our community.
Right. So some of these really, really small businesses or even independent contractors, a lot of concern there. They might not have financial managers, for example. Since your bank is taking the applications and managing the loans, what is your advice for them as they come forward to get help?
Move quickly, and call us. If you are concerned, call us and talk to us. Yes, to the extent that you have an accountant, you should be talking with your accountant now. To the extent that you don't have an accountant and you're doing your own taxes, be ready with your tax return. Whoops, from 19. Be ready with anything that can demonstrate, especially if you're like a sole proprietor or someone who does not receive a W-2 from your own business. Be ready to demonstrate your net income from the previous period, because that's what's going to be used for determination of your eligibility for these funds.
And your advice for consumers in general, and not to mention business owners in the days and weeks and months and perhaps years ahead?
Buckle down. We're in for the long haul on this. At least that's my belief. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that we bounce right back out of this. No one knows what this virus is going to do and how it's going to affect things. But we have strongly encouraged people to reach out and ask for deferrals. We've had a number of customers who said, no, I don't need it. I don't need it now. But keep as much powder dry as you can. Okay. That is our primary recommendation. With respect to the PPP funds in particular, 75, you can get forgiveness on these loans up to so long as 75% of those loans proceeds are used for payroll. At the end of 8 weeks, you can apply for complete forgiveness of those funds, so long as no more than 25% represent rent, utilities, interest on mortgages. That will get discharged also, or forgiven also, in complete. To the extent that you have funds from this program that are not forgiven, I would suggest you keep those funds segregated and dry, so that at the end you can go ahead and just pay it back. Now, and everybody has a different situation. I would very strongly consider that people or ask that people consult with an accountant with respect to spending that money on anything other than payroll, utilities, mortgage interest rates, or rental.
Okay, and one more time, just the advice about hunkering down. The picture blurred a little bit, but you're right. This is the time to really batten down the hatches, right?
Correct. We do have an uncertain future, and there's a lot of rhetoric about opening the economy, as if we have some sort of control over that politically. This virus is going to dictate how we continue to interact with each other as we go forward. The testing is going to be critical in order to understand where we are as a society, who has immunity, who does not. So one step at a time. I wouldn't be making any major purchases right now. I would go ahead and keep as much powder dry as possible. If you're renting, I would be talking to your landlords and asking for deferments or for at least not to have to pay during this time frame or for a period of time, because that's usually one of the largest expenses that people are dealing with, both in their personal and professional lives, if you're running a business. So, to all those out there who have kept their employees working or continue to pay them, bless you. That's exactly what we need to be doing right now.